The rain had been falling since evening, weaving its rhythm across the glass of the window. Every drop sparkled under the distant glow of neon lights. The city outside was alive. Trains rattling over wet tracks, cars splashing through puddles, and voices echoing from crowded cafes. Music spilled from open doors, blending with the laughter of friends huddled under umbrellas. Even the street vendors seemed undeterred, their stalls glowing warmly under the drizzle. It was the kind of night that made the world seem endless. But inside a small room on the fourth floor of an old apartment building, silence reigned. The room belonged to Ayan, a 21-year-old student. A single desk lamp glowed in the corner, its light pooling over books stacked unevenly, papers filled with scribbled formulas, and a laptop humming quietly. A steaming cup of coffee had long grown cold. The clock on the wall ticked past midnight, indifferent to his exhaustion. Ayan's back ached as he leaned over the desk, pen in hand. His headphones played a soft instrumental track, but it wasn't enough to drown out the voices inside his head. Why am I doing this? What if I fail? What if all these nights add up to nothing? He paused, removing his headphones. The muffled city rushed back into his ears, motorcycles racing down the streets, a burst of laughter from a group nearby, the soft chatter of people savoring the rain. Ayan leaned back in his chair, eyes fixed on the blurred city lights beyond the wet glass. For a fleeting moment, he imagined himself out there, laughing with friends, holding a cup of chai, maybe sharing jokes under the dim yellow glow of street lamps. He could almost hear it, almost taste the freedom, but the dream shattered as his eyes fell back on the stack of books. This was the choice he had made. The loneliness hit harder in moments like this. He thought of his classmates who seemed to live easier lives, posting pictures of outings and late-night hangouts. Meanwhile, his world was his desk, this lamp, this silence. The thought stabbed deeper when he remembered his parents. They slept in the next room, their trust heavy on his shoulders. They never said much, but their eyes carried hope every time they reminded him. One day, Ayan, all this hard work will pay off. One day. But one day felt distant. So far away it almost seemed like a myth. He buried his face in his hands, fingers pressed against his tired eyes. His mind wandered to a memory. The first time he failed an exam. His friends had moved forward easily, but he had stumbled. That failure had planted a shadow inside him, whispering constantly, "What if you're not enough?" The rain outside seemed to echo his fears. Each drop carried doubt, tapping against the glass, relentless. Yet, somewhere in that storm of uncertainty, a spark of hope remained. He looked back at his notes, at the unfinished lines of equations. He thought of the life he wanted, the job, the independence, the ability to take care of his parents, the chance to live without counting coins or fearing the future. He thought of standing on a stage someday, telling his story to students who felt as lost as he once did. The vision was fragile, but it was enough to keep him awake. Ayan picked up his pen again. His hand trembled slightly, but he began to write, line after line, formula after formula. His handwriting grew messy, his eyes burned, but his determination grew louder than his doubts. Hours slipped by unnoticed. Outside, the rain slowed to a drizzle. The once bustling city grew quieter, laughter fading, shops closing, even the traffic easing into silence. The world was resting now, sinking into sleep. But inside the silent room, the lamp still glowed. It was past 3 a.m. when Ayan finally leaned back in his chair. His notebook was filled with fresh pages of work, proof of his persistence. He stretched his aching arms, staring at the faint outlines of dawn beginning to lighten the horizon. He smiled faintly, not because he was finished, but because he wasn't. Because this struggle, this silence meant something. He whispered into the stillness. They may sleep through their nights, but I am building my mornings. The words hung in the air, soft yet powerful. The truth was harsh. Dreams demanded sacrifice. They were not built in the comfort of crowds, but in the loneliness of silent rooms. Every missed outing, every cold cup of coffee, every tear shed in exhaustion. They were bricks laid in the foundation of a future unseen. As the first light of dawn poured through the window, Ayan closed his notebook and placed it gently on the desk. His eyes were heavy, but his heart was lighter, for in the quiet, in the stillness, he had taken another step closer. And though the world outside had been alive with joy, he knew, someday soon, his silent sacrifices would bloom louder than the laughter of the night. Because in the silence of sacrifice, dreams are not lost. They are quietly being built.